Okay, so I'm finally making this video. I've been telling myself I wanted to make this video for months now, and I just kept letting different um, mental excuses get in the way that I wasn't spiritually ready, or that they're not ready to hear my message, or just the adversary trying to get into my ear about sharing my testimony and coming to Jesus from such depths of the new age metaphysics occult world that served me to come very close and get very, very deep with Jesus. But I am really quickened this morning. As you can see, I've not even washed my hair yet, haven't washed my face. I just woke up. I thought when I made this video I was gonna be dolled up, have a great little background and whatever, but that's not how it's happening. God's telling me I need to make this video right now and I need to get it done. So here it is. When I was 8, okay, so back up. I was born in St. Augustine, Florida, and I was born to a family who we didn't go to church, but we always said grace before dinner. And I've always had a natural monologue in my head with a connection to God, my comforter and my protector and my guidance and my leader. And I have a beautiful cousin. We'll call her Jen. When I was 8, she and I believe another reason she stayed so close to God is because she had leukemia as a child, and please pray for her. She has Parkinson's and it causes her a bit of a hard time. But when I was 8, my mother chose her husband over working at herself and working on herself and who she was as a woman versus how to please a man to get acceptance. And I ran away from her and I took the bus. And if you Google St. Augustine, there is a place here called the Sacred Acre, and women travel from other countries to pray here. So I loved going to my Nana's restaurant because it was at a hotel that was right across from the Sacred Acre. And like I said before, I've always had this connection to God. I never disbelieved. It just came natural to me. I actually used to look up in the sky and say, I can't wait for my real family to come and get me. And but I think I was thinking about the big party in the sky. And so when I was 8 years old, which was ironically the same year, I went with my cousin Jen to church and said the sinner's prayer for the first time. And that was also the year I started my period. And when I ran away from my mother, sorry, I just got a message. When I ran away from my mom and I just took the bus to my Nana's restaurant instead of to her husband's dad's auto shop that he worked at, that I would go there in the afternoon. She came there and I remember I wouldn't go with her. I ran through the hotel and then I hid under my papa's truck, which was a Dodge Ram. It was red. I don't know why I want to say that. And I said, "No, I'm not going with you." And she left me there. And I finally felt safe and happy, like I could be having some kind of normalcy. And don't get me wrong, my we had family trips and we went to Disney and we went to Wild Adventures and SeaWorld and camping and out on the boat and tons of fun stuff. But in the background, there was lots of drug use, drinking, arguing. And my mother, I don't think she was involved in Wicca at that time, but she has always had an interest in pagan and Wiccan type things. So when I went to my Nana's, my mother didn't call me. She didn't visit. She didn't ask or call my Nana and ask how I was doing until I was 15, and she finally left that husband for good. And like I said, they had a toxic relationship, and my mother's fallback has always been moving back in with her mother, which was where I lived, which was where my cousin, we'll call her H. H also lived there since she was very, very, very little, because my aunt, my mom's sister, had her at a very, very young age, and my Nana and my papa raised her. Well, she had already been living there, so I think as a young child, I believe she was in her early teens because I was only 8. I don't know what it was, but she tormented me. She was very, very rude to me. One of my coping mechanisms whenever I was dealing with not being able to control my family unit as a child was food, binging and purging. She ridiculed me and chastised me for doing that. One of the reasons was a coping mechanism for she just tormented me. She made fun of me. She's really mean to me. She used to say, "You're gay, you're gonna be a lesbian," which, if that's on your journey and your path and that's something that you need to work through and learn, then by all means, because I actually ended up, my first love was a beautiful woman, I'll call her Kel, who passed away in 2017, and her mother gave me the kind of love that I never got to feel from my own mom. And I'm so happy that I got to have that with her while she was with us on this plane. And so my mom comes back. Heather's tormenting me. That's another reason why we'll go back to my cousin Jen. I would call her crying, upset. Why doesn't my mom call me? What did I do to her? Why am I so inadequate that my own mother doesn't want to be here for me right now? Why is Heather so mean to me? If anything, shouldn't she? Sorry I'm so emotional, but I'm not too much sad. I'm feeling more of like a sense of relief that I'm getting to share this, because to me this isn't a sad story anymore. It's actually something quite beautiful and amazing. And I get a little upset because I'm so thankful that Jesus has always protected me, and God and the Holy Spirit have always protected, guided, and loved me to work and me through these times in my life, because it gets very, very crazy. So I would call Jen and we would talk about God, and she would pray with me. And my cousin H did not pray, to my knowledge, or talk about God. If my Nana didn't give her what she wanted, I'll never forget one time we were eating Oreos. She asked my Nana for something, and she goes, "Fat bitch." And in my head, even as a little kid, I remember going, I feel like you're evil. Like there's just something. So my mom finally leaves D, we'll call him, and she comes back to my Nana's house, and the room that she moves into is like my room. And I couldn't bring myself to call her mother. And by this time, I'm 15. I'm a complete wild child. No, no sense of authority whatsoever, because I took advantage of the fact that my Nana felt bad for the fact that my mother wasn't there for me. So I took advantage of that completely. Can I go here? Can I go there? Why not? Why not? And just beg until I could. Can I have $20 for this? I just can't. What am I going to do? Just basically taking advantage and guilting her to try to find happy. And when my mom came back, I really came undone. I couldn't call her mom, and that's when I started getting into zodiac signs. And when I remember when I was little, we would pretend to be witches just because of like Hocus. I don't know if I can say these movies, but a movie with witches, just different movies with witches and witchcraft, and directed at children, making it enticing and appealing. And then I guess as I grew up and I found zodiac signs, I was like, oh, there's something to that. And also, when I was 8, I had a grandmother on my dad's side who was on dialysis, who had a huge tapestry of Jesus behind her. And it was the one where there's the red and the blue and the white and the heart on fire. And I see that picture later times in my life. My grandmother passed away when I was 15. The same year, right before my mom came and left her husband and moved into my Nana's where I was living. And by the way, this is going to be a longer testimony because I have been through a lot, and I want to explain it, all of it, because I want this message to touch at least one person. And a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about are things that a lot of people, especially I've noticed Christians, have not researched, because that's a whole other story. So anyways, so I forgot where I was. So my mom moves back in, and I'm, like I said, yeah, I have no authority whatsoever, and we're arguing, bickering constantly, and I just got into zodiac signs and astrology. Oh, my grandmother Tedder. I just wanted to mention that Jesus, that picture of Jesus, because my grandmother was a devout Christian. She loved Jesus like no one I knew. And the year she passed away, the security system at my Nana's house that I lived in, the cords were cut inside of the panel. But the morning of my birthday, all the alarms in the house started going off. And I just couldn't help but thank her for telling me happy birthday. And my cousin Heather looking at me like I was evil for that happening. And so that year, between my mom coming back into my life after not seeing or talking to her for 7, 8 years, I just lost it. I lost my virginity to someone who was definitely over 21, totally groomed into it, doing cocaine, doing Xanax, doing psychedelics, doing what they call triple C's, robo-tripping, just promiscuous, stealing a lot, trying to fill a void, just like random stuff from stores, just trying to fill that void. But I do want to go back because my mother did try. She really did try. When I was 8, my mom, me, and my sister, we all moved into my Nana's. But then she went back to D. And when she went back, I, I, I was like, no, I'm not going to go back. And she was there when I started my period. My period is a huge part of my testimony. Having a menstrual cycle is a huge part of my testimony and witnessing to women and just sharing beauty of Christ. And my mother got me these little gold wrapped chocolates and a card when I first started. I was only in 3rd grade too. I was very young. None of my friends even knew what it was yet, and I thought I was 9. But I remember also feeling like this is more important. Like I feel like this is what I eventually hope to make this YouTube channel into, is a self-esteem support safe place for women, as well as people just coming out of new age, occult, pagan type Satanism type of spiritualities and religion or whatever, and just coming to have a personal, intimate relationship with Jesus. Jesus said our body is our temple. So that doesn't mean you need to give yourself a religious title and say a 32-word prayer, and that means you're saved by Jesus. And I knew that since I was a little kid. And that's one of the reasons why I think I strayed away from going to the Little C buildings, because I felt like the whole truth was not being told. And the older I got and the more I researched, I actually realized the Vatican has removed lots of gospels out of the original Bible, and the Bible's been converted, translated by so many men that it's not the original Bible anymore. And sorry if you don't like it, but it's the truth. And that's one of the reasons it took me so long to make this video, because I know a lot of people, lukewarm Christians, aren't going to want to hear that. So let's go back to me being 15. But I do want to go back to Revelation because it's my favorite. Besides Luke. And if any man shall take away from the words of this book of prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the book of life. So, and it also says, for I testify unto every man that heareth the words of this prophecy of this book, if any man shall add unto these things, God shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. And if any man shall take away from the words of this book of prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the book of life. So why is it acceptable for them to remove those books or change words? I'm sorry, I can't defile God's holiness for any man's excuse as to why that happened, especially because with my personal Lord and Jesus being my Lord and Savior and my relationship I have with him, that's one of the ways the adversary has tried to derail true Christians. So I told my mom, it's because she came back to my Nana's house when I was 15. I'm already being tormented by Heather too. And I'm just totally out of control as it is. And I told her to put me in a group home, that I didn't want to be there. That fine, I'll go away. I couldn't look at her and call her mom after what she did. So I'm going through all of this, and I'm smoking cigarettes too. Like, I'm addicted at the point where I can't wait to get out of middle school to just have a cigarette. So I'm searching for all these vices, and I get into I get into ninth grade, and that's really also where I lost it. So my mom signed me up. I went into this like emergency children's, like, basically like a crisis center, and they realized, wow, like there's major family unit issues, and the lack of accountability from my mom and myself at that time. There was like no, and again, my mother tried. She brought me my favorite shampoo and conditioner. And that's one of the ways my mother has always tried to make up things, is with money and gifts. And I understand that, because I even tend to do that naturally. When I meet new people or a client, I want to bring them a card and chocolate and things like that. Um, but words, talking it out, processing those emotions and talking those things out, that's how you get true closure for me. That's how I do. That's how I um was looking for it then. And um we still couldn't work it out, and I kept getting in trouble, and at this point I was breaking the law. I was doing illegal things with other girls who were just troubled girls. And it's a small town. The only thing to really do here, like when you're from here, was hang out in the woods, go to the beach, which when you're from here, you get kind of spoiled with that. And at that age, the movies, the mall. And me and some girls, we were car hopping when I was really young, and um one of the girls ended up going inside of someone's home. And this is before, thank God, this is before I was 18. And she found a gun, and then they continued to go inside of cars, and then we were charged for those things. And no, whenever I went to DDC, which I had been numerous times, just because I had gotten in trouble in middle school for bringing narcotics to school, or I think I was trading weed to another girl for her stepdad's pills, because I was already not a, I was mentally addicted to Xanax at that time, escaping, sedating myself, wanting to check out of this reality. And so I remember that a lady came. I was in the computer room at the detention center, the children's detention center, and I had been there so many times that I had knew some of the guards by their name. They remembered me. It's sad. And I would joke around on the little speaker and say, "What's for breakfast?" and act like it's room service. Like I was institutionalized by the time I was 15, which is not normal, if, in my opinion. And so somebody came from the state and said, "Your mother signed over her rights to you. You are now a ward of the state." And I lost it. I was just like, I didn't think that I would ever really go into a group home or be orphaned, basically. And I didn't know why she did it, if she felt like there was no hope for me. And I still don't know. She blames it on me to this day. She says, "You didn't want to be around me. I didn't have any other choice." And I actually have tried to mend that relationship numerous times. I'll do a whole, if you guys want me to, I will do another video about that. I'm Erica, by the way. Erica Michelle. And so I went into the group homes, and I was never close to my dad. And the girls in the group homes, it's kind of like a gang, like how when young boys get caught up in gangs by being brothers and being family and protecting each other and taking care of each other. Instead of it really being like a choice, that's just naturally what we did as young girls. And another reason why I've wanted to come out with this testimony so strong is because I am so grateful for all the human trafficking that has been busted and exposed, and Jeffrey Epstein's island being exposed. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. A lot of girls in DCF and CPS care, or whatever your state might call it, they don't really have parents or an authority that's too concerned about their whereabouts. So being an adult and connecting certain dots said a lot of things to me. And that's a whole nother video in itself as well. But we all called each other sisters. Again, kind of like pagan witch type thing. Stopped saying grace before I ate just because I wasn't with my Nana anymore. But I did always remember prayer, especially when I would get really sad on holidays or just being alone, or when I first went into group homes. I was usually one of the only white girls. The majority of group homes that I went into were primarily beautiful young girls of color, and they bullied me. I don't know if it was to test my strength or my loyalty as a sister or just my natural character, because a lot of girls that I was in group homes with and foster care with, they went in at a really young age. Like, the youngest I knew was 4, and I love her so much, and please pray for her. Angel Tom, please pray for her. She's lost a baby, and she's very lost right now, and I just pray for her to be reborn. And she does love God very, very much. So she's just had a hard time snapping back from that. She blames it on herself a lot. And so anyways, so I'm 15, I'm in the group homes, improving myself a lot. So I went into books and reading and movies and more drugs and learning how to be a prostitute. A lot of the young girls naturally, and older men who know you're a group home girl, they know that you don't have any authority or parents who are really going to try to press charges on you. And also, whenever I was in group homes, it was mandated that you see a therapist, and 9 times out of 10, the therapist put you on medication. And if you didn't take the medication, you refused your meds, then you are forcefully made to take your meds at a psych ward. So either you did it there or you did it anyways. So during a developmental stage in my process time in my brain, I'm being prescribed lots of psychotropic meds, and I'm using recreational drugs. So I wanted to escape very bad. I thought about suicide naturally, like it was normal, but I wouldn't do it because I thought the unforgivable sin was suicide, and that if I killed myself, I would go to hell. So I couldn't do that. But I would hear God in my head from the time I was 8 until now, but really a lot from the time I was 8 until I was like 16, 17. I would feel I would feel crunched up and like crushed. It would just like go, don't worry, you're special. You're special, don't worry. So I just wouldn't give up. And And I always prayed because my cousin Jen, sorry, I love you. um, she knows. She doesn't mind. And if anyone deserves credit for me coming to Jesus and finding God, it's her. Because she will always lay down her dedication and just pure conviction for Jesus and the Holy Spirit and God. So, but it was like a total fight for my soul, because it was like, it could have went two ways. And my mother, she would still bring this up when I was like 25. You could have went to Europe and been a writer, because I got a scholarship for winning a speech contest, because it's actually a great writer. And that's when I ended up getting into legal trouble that disqualified me from being able to take the trip to Europe on that scholarship. And I actually was going to go into ROTC as well, which I'm happy now that I didn't do that. But my mother always wanted to be in the military, but she ended up getting pregnant with my brother at a young age, and she ended up not being able to. And then, I don't know if this will help anybody else, but my mother got cheated on by my real father, and that was when she was pregnant with me. And I just feel like a lot of the resentment, because things that she'll say out of nowhere would be like, you're just like your dad, and things like that. So I think some of it might even be stemming from that. But like I said, that's another video. So, being in the group homes, I saw into the books. They asked us to, the year I turned 18. But even before that, I was into zodiacs, being promiscuous, stealing, totally just backslid. But I was being convicted. I knew everything I was doing was wrong, down to being with a woman. To me today, that's not natural. I think that man and woman were created to procreate together, and that's a whole nother video, and you can ask me plenty of questions upon that, and I'll be happy to answer them. So, they asked us that we would get a list of what do you want for Christmas, and on my list, I remember I wanted an astrology book. I wanted what else did I want? I was already researching like spells and witchcraft, and stuff like that. It was just so enticing to me. So I'm already getting into all that, and I remember reading my horoscope every day. I wasn't into tarot cards, but when I was in middle school, I had a friend's grandmother who read tarot cards, who as a child read me my cards when I was little. And so I leaned on that from the time I was like 15 until I was about 18. And then from the time I was 18 to 21, I really leaned on doing drugs, doing Xanax, and the relationship I had with the woman that I was with, my first love. And when we broke up, and I was by myself on my own, I remember getting more back into the Wiccan and pagan interest, and I wanted to be pagan. I wanted to be Wiccan. My mother was also, by this time, she was openly worshipped Sophia. She openly when I had found a voodoo doll of hers when I was 25. She had broken up with one of the men that, in my opinion, had destructed her the most. Um, a voodoo doll that she had been poking of him. I have never gotten into that. Not that I'm any better, because I can, by at the peak of my being in that, and by this time I had studied the Quran. I had studied Gnostic Christianity, Mormons, the Jewish. I was studying metaphysics and quantum physics because I got into psychedelics at one time. And the psychedelics, that's also a whole nother video, but I don't know. That's a whole nother video, but the psychedelics really got me into getting out of I was like, well, I don't need any religious title. I don't want to be a Wiccan, a pagan, or a psychonaut, or Jewish, or Christian, I don't want any religious title. I want to use all the things I want to cherry pick from every religion, whatever I like, and that's going to be what I am. And that's kind of what I did. And then I got into the New Age, and I thought that's where I had finally found the thing. And let's go back to the sister thing. When you are in the Wiccan and pagan community, your sisters. What had I have been looking for? Not having my family and my mom, a family sense of family support and security. So hearing older women call me their little sister and things like that was comforting for me. I felt like I had found my family, I found my place. And but they bashed Jesus, and I have always had a loyalty, like not disrespect him. Be mainly just because I had that with my dad's mom loving Jesus, and when she had her huge Jesus tapestry behind her while she was on her dialysis, she sat me down when I was 7 or 8, and she talked to me about how important life was, and she wanted me to watch her get her dialysis treatment of all of the blood running through the tubes. Warning now, the further I go, this does get graphic with blood. I was into satanic occult ritual use. At this time, I thought I was a light worker working in the New Age, transmuting energy, transmuting the masculine and feminine energy, reclaiming sovereignty over my body and healing my root chakra, all while being a womb priestess and helping other women do the same. I have pictures. I don't know how, I'm not tech savvy. I went to college for gardening. I am gonna try to add pictures and figure out how to edit this thing here. If I can't, I will put links or something below, and you guys can look at pictures that I have of ceremony that I did on the beach. Different ceremonies that I would incorporate menstrual blood in, because I call it being in a spiritual psychosis with the New Age. I was on psychedelics, acid, and I was having a spirit guide of mine. I was downloading information from my spirit guide. My spirit guide told me drinking menstrual blood will give you sovereignty over your body and help heal all past generational DNA from everything that was going on. And if you are in the New Age, if you've been involved in the New Age and got out, you can easily understand how that would make sense when you are taught the things that metaphysics and the things that are taught in about the root chakras, or there's just the chakras in general and the whole systematics behind the spiritual beliefs. I shoulda, coulda, woulda got some books just to give example, which I have some in my room still. I burnt everything though, which felt like I got rid of 50,000 pounds of dark spiritual energy baggage. I had I was reading oracle cards for money. I was doing Reiki treatments. I had a whole massage table at my house. I was using crystal